Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Midweek Worship at Cities Church. If you're connecting with us for the first time, my name is Jeff, and we recorded this broadcast to help you understand the faith. If this is your first time watching this, after this broadcast is over with, look below me in the notes to this broadcast, and you'll see a link to a YouTube video that'll tell you more about me, tell you more about our church, and more about this broadcast. If you've been with us for a while, we have been talking about my favorite subject in the whole world. We've been talking about Jesus. Theologically, the topic is called Christology, the study of Jesus Christ. Well, what we've discussed over the past several weeks is the titles that Jesus uses, the names for Jesus, the metaphors that the Bible uses for Jesus. And then last week, we started looking at Jesus's nature. And I'm going to be honest with you, today we're going to take a look at Jesus as God. What's referred to in the Bible is the divinity of Jesus. But I guess I just need to say this to you. This has been a real challenge for people, even the most sincere and faithful followers of Jesus over the centuries, because they really wrestled with the idea of Jesus being God in the flesh. How can God become flesh? And what we've done over the past several months is we'll give you a verse from the Bible in just a second. I'm going to give you a verse to read, but actually I want you to memorize this verse. I want you to hide it in your heart. And one of these days, who knows, because you've committed it to memory, maybe this verse will help you when you're really struggling personally or spiritually. So we're going to take a look at John chapter 10, verse 30, because Jesus makes a statement about himself in this verse that many people skip right over. In fact, there have been Bible scholars and theologians over the centuries that said Jesus was really awesome, but he never claimed to be God. And my answer to them is John chapter 10, verse 30. So here it is on the screens. John 10, 30. These are Jesus' own words. I and the Father are one. John 10, verse 30. Now, I'm going to ask you, would you commit that Bible verse to memory? If you're a parent or a child, would you commit it to memory? Talk about that Bible verse at the dinner table, because it's obvious Jesus is making himself equal with God. And that means Jesus is claiming to be God. Now, people have really struggled. And we have been talking about a few of the heresies that people have believed over the centuries. That word heresy, don't get tripped up over it. It just simply means this false teaching or false doctrine that people have believed. And instead of just throwing rocks at scholars, let's just give them a little bit of respect. What we're trying to say in this video today is that Jesus was man. We talked about that last week. We're trying to say today that Jesus was God. And people struggle with, how can he be man and God? And then the problems that come out with that is some people say, well, was he a little bit man and a little bit God, or a whole lot God and a little bit of man? And then they say, well, was he all the way man and part way God? Or was he all the way God and only part way man? And it gets really, really confusing. I just want to be honest. So some of these heresies are people trying to figure it out, and they're just struggling to figure it out. And if you're struggling with it, it's lots and lots of people over a couple of thousand years have wrestled with this. How can he be 100% all the way man and 100% all the way God at the same time? It seems like if he's one, he can't be the other. And if he's the other, he can't be one. How can he be both of these things at the same time? That's what people have really wrestled with. I just need you to know, all Christians, all through the ages, have agreed that Jesus not only he didn't become God, but Jesus is God. He was God while he was walking on earth. He was God while he was hanging on the cross, and he still is God, and he is in heaven ruling over all of creation to this day. Now, let me tell you about two heresies that have popped up when people started to ask, how can he actually be God? Like, how can God inhabit the flesh of a man? How is that even possible? And I'm going to put these two words for you on the screens. They've been around for a long time. The first heresy about Jesus' divinity is a word called Eboianism. And in this idea, the thought is, well, Jesus was filled with the Holy Spirit, like all of us Christians are filled with the Holy Spirit. Jesus lived this pure, perfect life, and because he lived this pure, perfect life, God rewarded him with like deity status. And look, I want to recognize they got it right that Jesus was led by the Spirit. They got it right that Jesus was pure and perfect. They just got it wrong at the end when they say that God rewarded Jesus with something like he didn't have that all along. So that's where the first heresy comes from. Second heresy, you see the word on the screen, is Arianism. And the idea of Arianism is that Jesus was divine, a little bit divine, but not all the way divine. He was a little bit God, but not all the way God. And I just want to give these guys a little bit of credit. They're asking, wait a second, I thought God was all powerful, all present, all knowing, all at the same time. How can Jesus be in one spot on planet Earth and still have all of those attributes? And they're struggling with it, the idea mentally. How is that even possible? That Jesus can be all present, all powerful, and all knowing, all at the same time, and yet still walk on planet Earth. And the Arianism heresy is, well, maybe he was just a little bit of those things, but not all of those things. Please bear with me. What I'm saying to you is Jesus really was 100% God. When he was born and laid into a manger, he was 100% man and 100% God. When he was walking on the road and tired and sweating and dehydrated, he was 100% God. And when he was hanging on that cross for your sin and for mine, he was 100% God. And the proof that he was 100% God is when they placed him in a tomb 3 days after he was dead. He has the power over life and death, over eternity, by coming back out of that tomb alive. And now what I want to do is just sing a song of worship to King Jesus. Our friends from South Africa, Pete and Alish, are going to lead us in this song. And then after we get done with this song, I'm going to give you a little exercise that I want you to do personally. If you're part of a family, I want your family to do this exercise to really hone in on how Jesus can be God in the flesh. Or let's just use his own words again, how he and God the Father can be one or be equal. So I want you to sing along with Pete and Alish right now.
Oh, my words fall short. I got nothing new. How could I express all my gratitude? I could sing these songs as I often do, but every song must end, and you never do. So I throw up my hands, praise you again and again, 'cause all that I have is a singing hallelujah, hallelujah. you again and again. 'Cause all that I have is a hallelujah, hallelujah. And I know it's not much, but I've nothing else fit for a king except for a heart singing hallelujah, hallelujah. So come on, my soul, don't you get shy on me, lift up your song, 'cause you've got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. So come on, my soul, oh, don't you get shy on me, lift up your song, 'cause you've got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. Oh, come on, my soul, don't you get shy on me, lift up your song, 'cause you've got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord. So I'll throw up my hands, praise you again and again. 'Cause all that I have is a hallelujah, hallelujah. And I know it's not much, but I've nothing else fit for a king except for a heart singing hallelujah,
All right, now we come to the part of this broadcast where we do a little exercise. And when this broadcast is over with, I'm going to put a question on the screens. When the broadcast is over with, I want you to spend a few minutes thinking about it, and then I want you to spend a few minutes talking about it. If you are a parent and your children are watching this broadcast right now, then I want you to have a family discussion. And parents, let your children describe this question or answer this question for you. And why don't you answer the question with your children so that you're learning about Jesus together? Here's the question. In what way is Jesus greater than your favorite superhero? Now, I just want to give you a little background. Maybe your favorite superhero is Superman and he's really strong. Well, how is Jesus stronger than Superman? Maybe your favorite superhero is Iron Man and he's really smart. How is Jesus smarter than Iron Man? Maybe your favorite superhero is Captain America and he's really, really good and noble. Well, how is Jesus good and better than Captain America? I want you to think about your favorite superhero and what it is that makes them super. And then I want you to think about Jesus and the qualities and characteristics that he had, and chances are you're going to find that he is more powerful and greater than all of the greatest attributes of your superheroes. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Midweek Worship. See you next week.